All right, so welcome. Happy that you're here, even though the champagne has been served. Not all of us. Don't run out now. You'll get. I think there is some left. So, Tobias and myself, we're going to talk about total workforce management from a Fieldglass perspective. So, who are we? Tobias?
Yes, I've been working with SAP product solutions, change management, project management since 2006. Since 2014 with vendor management solutions and mainly Fieldglass and Ariba as well.
Yeah, my name is Ulf Gevers, so I've been working also with SAP for a while. Came into the Fieldglass area since 2017, I think. And now focusing very much on that, but also involved in S4 SAP general projects as well. So what is total workforce management? So you might not fully know what this was when you when you signed up for this, but total workforce management is something that that SAP is explaining like this. So how we're handling the total workforce of your company. So not only the employees, but also the external workforce. So that's kind of what it comes from. That many HR perspective have control over the employees, but they've worked with the external workforce in separately. So this is how we should handle them as one entire workforce. So we can go to the next one.
Yes, and just taking a perspective back in time and bringing in the external workforce perspective into what Ulf just mentioned, getting the total workforce into one picture. If we look at like 20 years ago, the first VMS systems started to come. It was solutions like Fieldglass, which have been able to stay in position as leaders. External workforce was very much looked into as a silo. It was sourcing, trying to drive cost, lower the hourly cost of the external workforce, but you didn't look a lot into the workforce as an holistic part of your business. After a while, you came into more like integrations to ERP. You start to look into it more like end to end. You wanted to have the data also in your ERP. You wanted to have sourcing involved. You wanted to have the HR perspective as well, so you can keep track of who is your external workforce. This was also in the early days a lot driven by sourcing. But then also HR got open their eyes for the workforce, and you start to look into it more holistically. Then there's been also a lot of statutory legislation driving and sort of framing how you want to work with your external workforce. In example, health and safety, we have some customers working with a lot of resources that need to do specific trainings. They are sent to oil rigs offshore. They need to have certifications in place, and this is what you need to secure, even though they are employees or external workforce. So in this case, Fieldglass came into place where you track all the externals certifications, and then you push that information and consolidate everything through SuccessFactors as well. Also, same coming to legislation, there's a lot of legislation also covering external workforce. We'll talk about it a little bit more about Swedish changes that will come in example uthyrningslagen that I think some of you already are familiar with. And also data security, of course, keeping track of who has access to what, and especially when you have external workforce coming in for limited time periods, you need to have a good control of what they can access and when, so that you have your data secure. We also have bigger trends, great resignation, meaning that many people have reevaluated the values of their life. Do they want to work as much as they did? Also, that has been pushing trends like the gig economy, that more freelancers are prioritizing their life differently. They don't want to be employed. They want to have shorter assignments like freelance. and that needs to be managed also in a bigger extent in your solution landscape. Work flexibility and hybrid working, also key factors pushed a lot by the pandemic COVID trend, and showing that it's actually possible to deliver services and resources across a bigger geographical area, so you don't need to be at the office to deliver value. And also at the same time, in our industry, there's a big talent shortage, which means that you need to get the right talent into place, and many times you can't even employ the specialists that you would need to implement solutions or drive your key business. And then also we had supply chain crisis in the past years, impacting many companies, which also push further that you need to have the right workforce at the right time. And also all the time driving the organizational transformation, getting more digital, and transforming your business to be better and faster. So I think there's two trends that are quite big here. The shifting worker perspective, freedom, remote work. People are more tending to move. They are not as loyal as before to their employer. I actually have comparing many of the younger generations. They shift jobs many times and maybe are more faster to jump on the trends of freelance. My dad, he started his first work at Scania, and he stayed there, gold watch, and now he's in pension, so he never shifted jobs. And that's sort of the trend in time, how that shifts. And then also the role of external workforce is increasing, and 40% is somewhere here. SAP research says 42% of your workforce is external. So quite a significant amount of resources that are many times not maybe entirely managed and taken into account. Maybe they're on Excel sheets, on emails, and they are there doing work at some time. They are in and out. So there's a huge opportunity here to keep track and have solutions to support that. So that's a little bit about the journey and key trends in the market that we see. And then coming over to Ulf,
the processes here. Yeah, so what we can say here that we start from the Fieldglass perspective, because we come from that. So the external workforce process is where we have a job requisition or a job posting, creating a requirement, that we create a work order, we find candidates, we have interviews, we get work orders, which is kind of a purchase order. We onboard them, we have the time management, time sheets reporting, and we also have managing the work order, could be from a financial perspective inside or outside the system. But if we build that on, you can go to the next one. That we're involving now SuccessFactors. We would also have the position process. We have a position creation in SuccessFactors. You normally have a headcount approval, which normally happens in the SuccessFactors or HR system. So we then connect that to the external workforce as well. We don't only have a position for the employees, but also then we see we cannot find anybody internally, then we push that for the external process. We also follow that up. It actually says here they manage HR reports, but it's much more than that. We also have the full onboarding, and we have the access connections that comes after the HR onboarding. So we have an external resource that needs to have all the access. They needs to get into the buildings. They needs to have the system access, the mail systems, etc. And then if we go to the next one, we can also add on the S4 to get the full SAP suite, so to speak, where we have the purchase order creation, so we get the connection to the finance, to the finance in SAP. So we create the purchase order, we create normally a service entry sheet in S4, and we push back the invoice that normally comes in the S4 system up back to Fieldglass, so we get that interaction. Because in Fieldglass we have the interaction with the suppliers. S4 is of course the core where you have the finance, all the finance data, and you keep that up to the Fieldglass solution. So this is actually a full end-to-end where you have 3 different SAP systems, and we are looking to find where we can do this as seamless as possible. And we're doing this. We've done this for customers with the entire S4 Fieldglass and SuccessFactors, and it's really powerful, even though we see a lot of challenges that we'll come to. So, but first of all, I want to mention this because this is really relevant for many of you now. We have this Uthyrningslagen, or Temporary Agency Work Act, which actually came 1st of October 2022, but it started from there to start counting. So the first case we will see in 1st of October 2024. So what it says is that if you have a consultant that have been within the company for more than 2 years, you need to give that an employment or an employment offer or a financial compensation. So we don't know exactly what counts with this. We don't know exactly who is actually going to be impacted, but we know it's coming, and we know that we need to be prepared, or companies need to be prepared, because it will be, it might be a big cost, and it might be a bit complex. So we also know that we cannot plan this far ahead, so we cannot build in the contract already now saying that, okay, so if we pass these 2 years, you can just continue, because that's not allowed according to the law. Yeah? This is of course, there is a written description about it, but we will probably not know exactly till then, but it's within the site, not role, doesn't matter, within the site. So you can change roles. So that's, I mean, that's one thing that people would think that, okay, we can just change and call it something else. No, that doesn't work. So it'll be interesting. It's not impacting, for example, freelancers, but that we know, but we don't know exactly which sort of consultants will be impacted or not. Or so. And I mean, the objective is to protect the worker from an insecure work life, but it's a bit difficult to see whether it's actually going to be good or bad for both the companies or the consultants or consultancy firms. But yeah.
On an individual basis, or if you have like an entrepreneur, I mean, then you have sort of outsourced that. Will that still apply for those or not?
You mean like you have a service, you've bought a service, that should not do. We don't know for sure, depending a little bit on how you handle that. So, but I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But I mean that's probably more related to who's actually time reporting, that's managed by the company itself. So service normally wouldn't be, because yes, if you have a cleaning company there, you will probably not be impacted. That's pretty much what it says that you wouldn't be, but we don't know exactly. We have, yes, there are different ways of these, exactly, but we don't know how we will use them in Sweden, of course. But yes, that's correct, and there are different. I think this is a wave going in the world, entire world. We see, for example, in Norway, there are total different things, but then they have some very, very strict rules. I think that's mainly within maybe Oslo area and the building construction perspective. But we see that more and more coming in the workforce management area. So let's see. And absolutely, I mean, we can look at what the other countries have done and how they've used it, but I think it's not going to be exactly the same. And I know that there are companies are a bit scared. How are we going to handle this? Yeah. So the way forward here, very simple for this, is that we know be prepared, but flexible, because we don't know exactly how it's going to be. So be prepared so we can adjust. We need to keep track of who is actually working for you, where and for how long. What we say, consolidated worker record keeps track of all assignments. That's the specific Fieldglass perspective. We know we have a control who the individual has been there since then, or he or she was there before, no matter of the supplier. So that's also an important part of it. It doesn't matter if you change suppliers. This is based on the individual. So in SAP, we have tenure functionality, which is just doing this. So you get a flag. This person has been there for long or has been here before, so you can look at it. You could probably put this pretty strict no hire feature, but that would never be good, because you want more to keep track of who's been there. Yes? So it's 2 years, the last 3 years. So it doesn't matter if you go every other day. So it's 2 years within the last 3 years. Yes, and of course, Fieldglass Analytics give you, so have an overview of who's been there, and you can also visualize this in a better way. Yeah, go on. So some challenges, you can actually go for all of them. So these are some challenges that we've seen in the total workforce management perspective. So I'm jumping a little bit back and forward here. We actually wrote a paper about this, so that you can look for the specifically from the SuccessFactors perspective, what we've seen and how we faced them. So this is the no-show or role adjustment. This is when you have somebody actually changing roles, that you need to create a new work order, etc., to find a good solution there. And also how you handle people not joining. So you keep how you handle those doing these work orders and etc. We have the objective relationship. This is something that's very much worked on, I would say. Lately, we've seen how SAP is actually building everything more together, more Fiori-like. But what we mean here is how we actually come from 2 different systems, two different companies actually. Fieldglass was one, SuccessFactors was one. Now we have SAP, and we've seen this is coming closer and closer. But we can see, for example, we had different wordings from an HR perspective and a procurement perspective. So how do we actually adjust so we can see it seamless? So we call it the same thing from HR and procurement. This also comes with this disjointed user experience. So we have the same UI. That's what we're aiming for, or SAP should be aiming for, and I think we're getting closer to that as well. It's changed a lot actually this May from Fieldglass. Legal constraint, of course, this is something very complex when rolling out to the entire world. All the rates we have. How you keep track of people, how you're handling the rates structure. We can see that from now. I think SAP has been in most countries in the world, actually. So we see those complexity. For example, we see in China could be how you handle consultants there compared to how you handle them in Sweden. It's very different. And we have, of course, the unions in the US and et cetera, and how we handle taxes and so on. And then this one, I think, is one of the most important things in regarding the total workforce management, how HR and procurement are working in silos. So that this is doing this implementation, or, I mean, even though only Fieldglass, but especially when you have a total workforce management, that you need to really have both parties involved here from the very start, because they will both be very much involved. Yeah. Okay, so we can push them all, because time flies. So these are the key benefit areas, which we call the visibility, the efficiency, compliance, and savings. And I think savings, everybody would start with the savings, but then this will be less and less relevant, because I think, yes, there will be savings. The business case is pretty simple. You would always start there when SAP comes to you and they have a great business case to you. But the most important thing would be these things. So we have the visibility, so you have control over who is actually working for you, where the person is, when the person is actually ending, so you don't keep having the accesses, etc., after the work order has ended. Efficiency, of course, you have control of the contracts, prices, etc. It goes faster because you have templates ready there. You don't need to recreate everything. You have a workforce that you know of. You also have the roles defined already in SuccessFactors that you reuse in Fieldglass, so you can have control from both an external and internal employee perspective. Compliance that we mentioned now about the act, but we also have we can control that we cannot actually create. You cannot onboard a consultant without having an NDA signed, without having the right approvals from both actually the supplier and your own end. So that compliance, I would believe, is actually one of the, I think that's the most important part right now, and that will not be less. Yes. Okay, so let's do a PowerPoint demo. So here's actually SuccessFactor. You have a position org chart here. You, as a hiring manager, cannot find somebody internally. So you're filling your position here with, you go to the create SAP Fieldglass requisition, because you want to push out to Fieldglass to find an external resource. So what happens is that we create a job posting. We're actually coming into Fieldglass. We have the information from the HR information. We have the job role. So we have the product manager that I was asking for in SuccessFactors. I get the information I need, for example, potentially a cost center, if that's associated to you as an owner or a hiring manager. I can see here that we have, now we're coming into the procurement area. So we have this one. This is actually custom, or there are a lot of, this is not custom, this is native, but we can actually create whatever we want to have a report ahead, just pushing. So what is the average rate here? What is whatever you need actually to get upfront information when you're creating this. Have a start date and end date, of course. You can go on. You put your organizational data. This is, as I said, this would probably get a lot of the information already from SuccessFactor. You can change that. We have a position ID, which is very important in this flow. This is something that comes from SuccessFactors. You have the connection back to the approval in your headcount approval in SuccessFactors. Okay, you can go. These are defining rates. So this is, of course, the key in Fieldglass, I would say. So we are, you can go on with these. So you have the rate structure, more or less complex, as I mentioned, depending on the region you are in. Sweden is probably not that complex, actually, in the world, but there are more complex countries. So you define what you should have as a committed spend of this, which is actually the spend of the purchase order if you use an S4 connection later on. You can go on. All right, so you sent out this job posting or this requisition, depending on what you call it. You send that out to the supplier, so you have the interaction with the suppliers. The suppliers send back all the candidates they have. So these are 2 candidates coming from 2 different companies. You can have a lot of them, of course. You can do the shortlisting, etc. But this is where you can compare them. Here is when talking about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. You can do a comparison there with the CVs and etc. Very complex. I haven't seen that much, but we'll see that in the future probably. and you can of course define these things, what is actually meeting the criteria for how we are defining who should meet the criteria or not. So you can go on. Okay, we now have identified that Siv is going to be our consultant, so she's time reporting through Fieldglass. You can go on. Go super fast here. Go again. Yeah. So we have a work order, and the work order itself can give a lot of information about this from a procurement perspective again, because this is what Fieldglass mainly showed that. So you can see how much of the budget, how much of time you have left from the work order, so you know when you need to do some changes or you do to updates, etc. This will also be associated to notifications. You can go on. How it's if you're comparing them? Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is instead of cats. You can use cats as well and have an integration. That's possible. This is specifically that. In this case, you would be using Fieldglass as the time reporting tool. You can use cats. This is done, and then you integrate, and then you're actually populating the time reporting here. So what is happening after the time reporting? That's the calculation done based on the rates. That's the engine of the tool. So if you do that through cats and send that across to Fieldglass, the calculation will still happen, of course, in Fieldglass. Yeah, okay, yeah, that you can do, but it's depending if you only use the internal perspective in cats, might not be one-to-one. But you can upload the cats time schedules, etc. That's possible to do, but the rates, I would say, could be slightly different, so might be specific for the external workforce. But it's possible, yes. Yeah. Okay, so what we see here, so now we've onboarded to the team. So we have, I don't know if you can see is there in the middle. So you can see the holistic view of your team. So no matter if they're internal or external, you can then go into that specific person. And so here you don't really see actually that she's just one of your team and one of your team members. You can go to the next one. Because next is pretty much the same, another view of it. And you can then see here and jumping from the SuccessFactor to the work order information. So you again go back and forward between the systems. All right, you can go to the next one. And then you see the work order in Fieldglass here. Yeah. And here, just mentioning about the consolidated worker record that we talked about, to see that Siv was actually here long back between 2021, in 22. So we can see how long she's been there, and to validate whether she's she can still be here. And of course this is only to visualize it, but we have the possibility to actually flag that this is a person that you need to check whether you need to give that person an employment offer or not. And here, these are so many of these, but this is actually where you can see the total picture. So we have, I don't know if you can see up to the left, so you have the contingent, the statement of work, consultant, and profile worker. All those are external, 3 different employee groups of external. And then you have the employees that are the internal the employees of the company. So this is actually, then you can go into each of them and dig deeper into the specific employee group. So these are, and this is just one of them. And in general, this is a very short, of course, but we have so much in this area that is of interest. Yes.
The final minute.
The final minute. So this is yeah. So I don't know. I don't think we should go into details. But what we've done in our project is very much the master data flowing from SuccessFactors Fieldglass and the other way around from Fieldglass to SuccessFactors, and also the S4 integrations, but also the transactions where we have the position as we showed. We have the work order, and we then send them across to back to SuccessFactors, where we continue the process for accesses, etc., and also the S4 connection. So yes, super fast.
Just showing that there is structure behind as well too, which has matured a lot also during the past 2-3 years.
Exactly, and
integration capabilities.
And we're only mentioning the contingent workforce. We have the statement of work that we actually seen even more involvement during the last year, so more the service procurement. So we would like to talk a lot more about this, but we didn't have more. But what we know is that tomorrow Johan will also talk about how you can actually gain from this from a business perspective, business case perspective. So listen in to Johan tomorrow or come here. Any questions?
Great. Nothing standing in between the after SAPSA, I guess,
Exactly.
outside. Thank you so much for the attention.
Thank you.